This is where the old mill was. And like I say, they used to live on this side, so this was very convenient for them. It was only later that they moved to the other side of the pond. The mill itself, and I'm sure some of you have seen pictures, it's set on big timbers. There was a big frame timber foundation, and then the mill house itself set in. And I've got plenty of pictures of that. In fact, Sonny sent me some pictures. First ones I've seen of Will inside, which actually shows the setup with the grinding stones.
He does?
Yes.
I want some.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get those a little cleaned up. But that's, you know, like I say, if everyone lives long enough, every Christmas, I'm going to have to pick up the pace instead of one a year. But the old mill set approximately here, had a raceway much like that one. They would raise the water up, and there was a turbine underneath that would turn sideways, and then it had a shaft that went up through two stones. One was stationary and the other would grind. And there's pictures of this. It's kind of neat. It was in a box, and it had like a little shaker mechanism that would shake the corn into the inside of the wheels. And one was, the bottom one would be stationary, so it would as it would grind it, and you see the little cutouts in the stone, it would grind it and then move it to the outside. And then they basically just had feed sacks that it would go in. No money ever changed hands. It was 10%. People would come. It was a social event. They'd come on mostly on the weekends, from what I told, because they had a lot of other stuff during the week. And of course, when my dad would remember it, anyone that could remember it, it was in his waning days. Because think about it. I mean, electricity took the place of most of that. But my dad said, his grandfather said it was a public service. He would actually grind this corn. He'd take 10% for his services, and I guess they used it to feed the chickens or trade it for something else. You know, it was a big barter economy then. Of course, this would have been a real popular swimming hole at that time. People would come up. They said it wasn't uncommon. You see wagons tied up all around the road coming in. They'd swim out here. My dad says, I don't know if you remember, he said it was sandy in here when they keep the race going. They would keep it cleaned up.
Swim on this side.
Someone asked about the baptisms. We had several pictures of baptisms, black and white, all through here. And they used to do baptisms down
Still
there.
do.
And still do.
So I thought most of the baptisms were that way, not so much? More this way?
Well, this was before that, the mill was, that
Oh, okay.
side was not developed. This is
This is where the action was.
The thing that I thought was kind of interesting, Billy and Craven and them remember the old mill. On the face of it, everyone carved their initials and dates. It was kind of like a time capsule, and they knew this one carving. It actually went back to like 1801 or 1802, and the front was like a porch, so the whole front was kind of protected from the weather. But grandmother said there was well, I know a couple things. They would keep it was just a one-room building. And it was like a potbelly stove in there to stay warm in the winter. They had the grinding stones. Grandmother said it was actually one of them could play a banjo a little bit, and then they actually kept like a .22 rifle for snakes, a little pump gun. That was about it. I mean, there really wasn't much down there. And you could see why they might have, when they decided to try to mill, they went to the other end, because they were living down there. This is a long, long way to walk from them. Any questions or anything?
Why is there so many floating sticks in the middle?
Oh, Connie brought this up. I never got a good explanation, but I was told you have to get kind of low. Straight through there, they actually dug a canal, and someone told me it was something about the way it diverted the water into the way back when, early in the pond, that this. They say it used to be clear. You could actually take your boat up. In fact, I remember as a kid it was clear, but you could go through this canal that went back 100, 150 years. That might have been, because remember when they built the pond, no one sawed down anything. They just backed the water up. There was probably trees in here for the first 100 years, easily. In fact, like, what's the one when you go down toward Bladenboro over to the left? You can go there. It's still got trees all in it. I mean, you can't even see hardly the pond through the trees. This one's cleared up over time, and numerous times when they've let the water down, they've sawed a lot of the stumps out, but it'd still be pretty hazardous to an outboard motor. I'd be nervous. All right.
By going over a fence, and that is Scott. By going over a fence, and that is Scott.
To the old family cemetery, but as far as we know, there was 2 houses in this area. So I think the original Pond William that built this pond, his house was right in here. Some say it was closer to the edge of that.
We found pottery over there.
Yeah, you can find pottery. And his son, Nathan, the one that is buried in the corner, his house was across in the middle of the field over there.
Who are these people?
Invaders. Squatters. That's
They're
the
about to get
property
sued.
that got out. Well, is this Devon? Yeah.
Well, as long as we know who owns it, they're not going to care.
Did he buy that from,
Jack, what's his last name?
he bought that from Billy, or did he buy it from
No,
the...
that actually got out of the family when this whole thing was sold in here.
Oh, okay.
Well, what we're going to do is walk down to the old cemetery where the original Pond William was
Yeah,
buried.
yeah. I think that might be it.
That's it. That's the old peanut compactor. You remember that?
Yeah, we definitely need a picture of that.
Yeah, get a picture. So we'll match that against the. From here back to the old family cemetery.
Wait, they built a deer hunting thing on top of our cemetery? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this is where it is?
It was right in this corner. In fact, what I'm trying, there was a couple 3 graves, and this is where you can start your ghost
Ryan.
stories. They were covered in concrete. Don't know why, but the stones were removed to the other cemetery in the mid-70s.
If you get out there and you don't die, I'll follow you.
It was right in here, though. There was a concrete pad.
I found sand. I thought it was concrete.
That looked like concrete to me, too. Steve, you see anything in it?
Safe up there.
Yeah, it's deer. Isn't it like the deer urine?
Safe.
Here are the younger retarded Bryans in the deer stand. And here's Mel trying to find a cement grave.
I'm looking.
And it was actually on a kid's grave. I remember when we moved it. But this is where all the wooden tombstones came from that were slave stones. In fact, one of my favorite slave stories, and it's documented in the letter from Benjamin, when he was settling up, he told his brother to let Carol go, the slave, because she took care of his mother until his mother passed away. So take it out of his shoes. So, you know, people can. So I don't know. I mean, you can't tell whose stones are whose. But it was right here. No one's found any of it. You remember, Steve, when that tombstone was here? It seemed like to me the concrete one was like right over here.
Hey, family. Hello.
Of course, they could have pushed all that
Oh
back.
my God.
We almost need a pole,
That's cute, Sally.
Metal rod or something.
Nellie, did you get a picture of this thing?